Delegation is a board's third duty. Organizations without staff customarily delegate implementation to a committee or committees. Mature organizations delegate program implementation to staff, which is under the direction of the CEO. A board, it is important to remember, employs directly only one person, the CEO. All other staff is employed by and answers to the CEO. A board owes its CEO three things. First, a job description that states clearly what the CEO is responsible for. It should be written with outcomes, not activities in mind. What is the CEO expected to accomplish? Second, an annual performance evaluation, which clarifies how well is the CEO doing and how could he or she serve the organization better. The board chair performs this important function. The CEO is responsible to him or her, together with another board member. The process should invite input from members of the board and from staff who report directly to the CEO. It should also invite the CEO to comment from his or her perspective. This conversation should be summarized in writing. 3, the board owes its CEO support. Boards set the tone for the whole organization by how they treat their CEO. Just as a good CEO supports staff, so a good board supports its CEO. Boards commonly take too much for granted. They fail to adequately express their appreciation. This is not to suggest that boards and the CEO cannot differ. They can and they will. But even differences should take place in an atmosphere of mutual respect and support. Delegation also involves stating the policies by which program will be implemented.
And what, in a practical sense, do you mean by policy?
Simply stated, a policy is an instruction to the future based on experience and collective wisdom. Some of the principles and practices I am advocating affect different organizations differently. One universal thought that applies to all, regardless of size or age, is that boards need to adjust their ways of working as they grow and age. Practices that served a young, small organization well may not be as effective at a later stage. Nowhere is this principle more relevant than in the area of policy formulation. Young, small organizations have few policies. Each issue is decided on its own merits. Eventually, organizations reach the stage where the demands are too great to continue working this way. Meetings get long, directors get tired. Boards need to learn how to discharge their responsibilities through written policy statements. Policies bring the wisdom of experience to bear on a situation. They help an organization retain what has been learned the hard way. Meetings are shorter when an organization has a battery of basic policies. Decisions are less arbitrary. Organizations that fail to make the transition to working from policies risk retarding their development. John Carver, organizational author and guru, goes so far as to say that all board activities should be guided by written policies. Before a board needs a budget, says Carver, it needs a policy on budgeting. Who prepares it? In how much detail? Who approves it? When? An illustration. The board of a new Habitat affiliate approves each new family for home ownership. Eventually, the volume of work increases to the point where a committee is appointed to screen families and recommend them for board approval. In stage 3, the board authorizes a committee working with staff to act on its behalf within the approved criteria. The board reviews only exceptions. The board's oversight responsibility is exercised through policies it has adopted. I like to think of policy making in navigational terms. Picture a ship on the high seas, en route to its destination. Policies are the buoys that keep the captain on course. If the buoys are set too close together, that is, if the policies are too restrictive, the captain gets frustrated and demoralized and ends up disregarding them. If the buoys are too far apart, they do not give adequate guidance. A board must find the appropriate balance. Directors pass their learnings on to their successors through the policies they adopt. Learning organizations maintain a manual where its policies are filed and readily available. Skillful boards learn the art of delegation, achieving outcomes through others. They state clearly what is expected. Then they step back, but do not disappear. They observe, but do not interfere. They do not second-guess or micromanage. They know their governance role and fulfill it. They make room for others to participate.
I'm with you. My first responsibility as a director is to have a clear understanding of the purpose for which the organization exists. Then we need a plan by which the purpose is realized. Now I understand how the plan is implemented through delegation. What's next?